Hey everybody, welcome to PK Woodworking, and today we're going to have quite a story. So it starts out that I found these three maple tops on Craigslist, and they were all removed from an elementary school in Los Angeles. I didn't find that out until I picked them up, but my thought process was I could make them into a workbench, the remnants of the three together, and so I took them home. They ended up being non-finger jointed, solid, 1.5 inch maple, really well put together. But they had a crazy, crazy finish on them that, as you're going to see, took me forever to basically sand off. So I put it out here in front, sanded them off, had to true them up. You'll see in a little bit, but I'm going to stop for just a bit while we go through the rest of the sanding when I get to the next part again. Okay, so now I'm going to use some water to raise the grain because the scratches inside this thing were pretty deep from kids using pencils, etc., to do whatever they were doing, and had to cut off both sides and true them up. Kept using some water over and over to get them to where they were acceptable. This particular one, you're probably wondering, well, why didn't he just sand this with the drum sander? Well, this had a lip on the front of it attached to it, about 2.5 inch lip that I'm going to use to go on top of my tool cabinet. And so I couldn't really take it off and put it back on easily, so that was my plan. And you'll see I keep sanding, put a little finish on it, and then we're at some point in time ready to test fit. But I'm going to let it run here for a second and we'll get to that. Now I'm just putting a couple of coats of Waco clear Danish oil on this. Pretty simple. And then, yeah, we bring it inside to test fit, only to find out it's way too deep and wants to fall off. So I had to bring it back out, cut a couple of inches off of it, and then refit it. And then we get started on the rest of these slabs so that I can get those ready for my real workbench. And so this is what it looks like now on top of the tool cabinet in the main garage. And now I'm going to give you a sight of what that orange countertop looks like, and my fourth out of focus shot at this point in time of my entire video library. So it had, like I said, a terrible, terrible finish on it that was really hard to get off. So I decided we were going to sand this off with the drum sander. So truing up a couple of sides of this thing to make it the right size for the counter, and then we're going to get to sanding. So I set up that little Husky adjustable bench on the backside for outfeed. I got Chris to come in and help me out, and we started sanding these beasts. And you can see this is way faster than doing it with a Festool RO. So we got through this pretty quickly, and they looked pretty awesome when we were finished. Really satisfied with it. I'm opening up the top to use what looks like a giant eraser, but it's something to dress the sandpaper to make it last longer. So if you see me open this sucker up over time, that's what I'm doing. It's a CWI 37-inch double drum sander, and this is the initial sandpaper still that's on it. I'm going to change it in a minute, but the initial sandpaper I think was 80 120, and I got a little more aggressive and went to 60 for the rest of this stuff. So you'll see me swap this over in a bit, and we'll kind of move on from there. You know, I've noticed that I sweep a lot in these videos. I'm gonna have to figure that out a little bit. Maybe edit some of that out. But anyways, out of focus number 5. We're doing pretty well here with the focus at this point. So I'm now sanding the skirts that are going to go around the outside of the work bench that I'm building for inside the shop. It's a Noden Adjust-a-Bench. You'll kind of see some snapshots of that in a second. I'm gonna put these skirts around the outside to build it to the right width that I want. And here's me changing out the paper to the new roll of paper. But the skirt is gonna give me the right dimension I'm looking for, and I'm also doing a mortise and tenon joint on the end so that hopefully along long term that the wood will stay pretty stable and not be a problem for me in the future. But this is the skirting that I'm making for the Noden Adjust-a-Bench. If you haven't seen one before, I suggest you go check out the website. I love the thing. Being able to move it up and down for whatever height I want is really awesome. And when you get the thing down on the ground and off the casters, it's actually really solid bench and works out great for me. So there's the glue up. I put 2 of the countertops together, sandwiched them, glued them, and now out of focus 6, and we're starting to go through the process of getting the top ready for the skirts. So I'm truing up the edges. We're ensuring they're square and ready to go so that when I do put the skirting on, that there's no gaps. And there obviously was things to take care of because this is not a new slab of wood. So getting ready to put all this together and hopefully ready to accept the skirting and also the end caps. Now, I know I called it out in a previous video that I didn't really like the pull down air that I had from Flexzilla there. I love everything else about Flexzilla, but that particular one pull down is just not working out for me. And you'll see me over the course of this video a few different times struggle with it, not wanting to go all the way back up. But now I'm kind of chiseling out and making the mortise and tenon joints on the mortise joints, I guess, on the back side of the in the front side of the tabletop. And then you're going to see me in a second use the slider on my table saw to create the tenon joints on the long apron pieces. So again, I'll let this roll and you guys can see what's going on. So I'm just going to clamp a couple of pieces on the end you'll see to support these skirts while I'm measuring them, getting the length exactly right for these tenons so that it doesn't create a bind when I'm gluing on the end pieces of the tabletop. And when I get to the point, I just use them to support it while I'm gluing them on the top. So we're getting close to gluing right now, and there's the clamps going on. And we're gluing up the skirts on the edges. The ends are I guess not the ends will go last, but the sides. And then after we get that dried, we'll put on the front and back end after I fit them, make sure that they work well. and once again sweeping up. The clamping went pretty easy, and you'll see that same hose just continues to be a pain in my you-know-what. Now this is when I'm going to fast forward a little bit further into actually building of the workshop, because now I'm working on the Turbo Vise from Andrew Klein. And the cool piece of having that TV there is that I can take my PC, go on the particular YouTube, pause it whenever I want to while I'm building this, see whatever instructions that Andrew wants to tell me about how to put this thing together, and pause it, then go right back to it. So his videos way better than mine would be, so I'm just going to do time lapse through this. But you'll see me using that Nova drill press in the back to be able to do some stops midway through so that I don't punch through the back of this vise. Worked out pretty well, and enjoyed building this. It came out really cool, and just a great invention from him of something that looks great and actually super functional. So I'll let it go a little bit, come back in later. Now I'm getting ready to tap the wood, underside of the wood bench to fit the attachments for this Turbo Vise on the bottom. Surprisingly, really cool. Never in my life of working with wood have I tapped wood for a screw, so this was definitely new for me. Worked out pretty well though, and stronger than I guess I anticipated. But again, takes a little bit of time down there on the ground to figure that out. One funny thing though is when I was working with it, I lost a piece, so you'd see me on the ground there trying to find a piece. But this is me routing out the spot for the router lift that I'm putting in the end of this. I have a full router table that's set up, you guys will see later, but having a router lift in the end of the table for me has always been a great plus. Just leave a roundover bit in or whatever, and then you're got access to it whenever you want. And so that was part of what I wanted to get accomplished there. So I got that router lift Frenched into that end of it, and then now I'm kind of getting ready to put a finish on that, like the actual bench. So you're going to see me doing a lot of sanding here for a little bit, and remove the router lift out of the bench and put some finish on it. Again, just Waco oil at this point in time. Easy to clean, take care of, sand off, redo whenever you feel like it. So. Just a call out on the left side there, you see that I've still got the joiner and the Delta planer that now are gone, but sold the joiner to a really nice guy out here locally, and then somebody purchased my Delta planer from Indiana, and we shipped it to him, and I know he seems to be pretty happy with it. I really enjoyed the planer, and it was great tuning that one up too. I'm not sure if I'm going to post that video or not, but you can see right there I adjusted the bench up a little higher, which is part of the cool thing of having that Adjust-a-Bench. And now I'm just doing some cleanup here on some of the walnut behind it, so I can put another coat of finish on it. At the same time, I'm going to put a coat of finish on the top of the bench. So I'm going to lay down a little bit of paper, which my son Chris seems to think is satisfying to watch some of these processes happen in time lapse. But it is kind of crazy to see that stuff happen. Me sweeping again. God, I'm just obsessed with sweeping. So did have a little bit of an accident when I was routing out the bench vise for its piece of acrylic, and had to solve that on the backside with a little bit of putty and getting creative. So, but it came out great anyway. Can't even tell the error in general. Just a great build. So I'm just putting on some Waka oil, pretty simple, easy finish. And then here's the long-term look of what it has. I'm going to have a bunch of different pictures coming up here to kind of show you what the end, looked like. So this is before I put any holes in it for the dog stuff, the dog holes from the UJK Parf Guide stuff. Again, love the fact that I reclaimed those 2 countertops and turned it into something that really came out well. And yeah, really happy with it. First time I've ever had a standalone workbench of this style. Usually I have had outfeed tables that I've turned into benches, and then this is using that Parf Guide, and it worked amazing to drill these holes. I do have it on a time lapse, but it's a lot. So anyways, I appreciate you being here and watching through the whole thing. Subscribe if you like it.